All right, welcome to the Stellaris show. Surprise, surprise. This is it's not the Factorio show today, so forgive me for those Factorio fans out there that were expecting the Factorio show today. It's just I just released my latest Stellaris video and I wanted to talk about that, so I'm striking while the iron's hot. So we're going to have to reschedule the Factorio show for tomorrow. But definitely we will get to that. And as you know, I took my obligatory couple days off that I take every week from streaming to focus on other things. But anyway, again, so today we're doing a special on my latest video. We're doing a premiere here, and I'm not going to spend too much more time before we just jump right into the video. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the video and then we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to use all of my discipline that I can muster not to talk while this video is being shown. And I just want you guys to see it. You know, we're doing a premiere, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm really excited about this. I don't know what this video is going to do. It is very spicy. Not spicy in a, demonetizable or offensive, way. I hope. Though what I say in this video may offend some of you in the Stellaris community because I'm basically giving my feedback, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. Unfortunately, quite a bit of this video is kind of a tough love video, to be honest. It is, directed at Paradox and, now it says, okay. So, sorry, I saw something that I had to look at real quick. But it's kind of some tough love directed at Paradox and the Stellaris dev team. And I think there's a lot of issues going on that either they refuse to fix or they're just not aware of. So I'm going to choose the latter, that they're just not aware of some of these things. Maybe either because they don't have time or because or they're just so busy. I don't know. I don't know what's going on their end, but there have been issues in Stellaris that have been going on for a long time, both in the community and just my personal experience. And what I want to say, and then we're going to share the video. I swear to God, I'm not going to talk that long this time. Is basically I want you guys to know before you watch this that this is first and foremost my perspective. Okay, so my opinion, the way I see things, but just overall my perspective. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's your perspective or that anybody else's perspective is less valid. I'm not trying to be a fence sitter here, but or trying to please everybody. I'm not. This video is, let's face it, what I say in this video is going to irritate some people. I may even lose some subscribers over it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but there is stuff that I talk about in this video that absolutely needs to be said. Things about Stellaris in general, things about the community, about certain features of the game, things Paradox and the Stellaris dev team have done in the past, most recently. And the goal of this video is to help them and to help us save Stellaris, which, I mean, you can tell by the title that this isn't going to be the most positive video in the world, but it's not a completely negative video either. And I try to keep it as strictly professional as I can. And like I said, I don't want to get demonetized or anything. So obviously I do my best to keep it clean as well. But I can't help but think that there's a lot of stuff that I talk about in here that a lot of us out there are thinking. People who play Stellaris on a regular basis. If you've played Stellaris for a long time, especially if you're not the 1 or 2% of players that are, just absolutely killing it at this game, like they have perfect games every time, they've got it all figured out, they do 25 times crisis, whatever. I'm not knocking those people. If you're one of those people, great, that's cool, but just know that you don't, all right, again, this is my perspective. you don't represent the majority of the population. So I try to think about what the average Stellaris player is going through or what they may see, and then what I see in my runs. And I want to preface this also. I am not the perfect Stellaris player. I am not the best Stellaris player by any means. I just feel like I know enough to be able to share it with others and to try to help them, on their journey with Stellaris. And I want to also make this clear. Stellaris is a great game. It is. There's a reason I, make videos about it. There's a reason I play it and for the love of God, stream it every single morning. Okay, or every other morning, lately. And it's not because it's a terrible game. Stellaris is not a terrible game, but it does have a lot of flaws and a lot of problems that are kind of getting worse. And there's also issues with the DLC. Now, I came out with the DLC video a few months ago, and I want to address that as well. This video does not, I don't believe it diminishes that in any way. When I made that video, that is how I felt at the time. And that was a time right before they released the previous 3 releases, which all, let's face it, weren't very good. Got to be honest. I mean, now Grand Archive might have pleased some people, but I looked at the reviews for that, and there were hardly any. I mean, but they were positive, but there were hardly any of them. It's like, compared to the Machine Age, it's like, wow. But even then, the Machine Age, like, I would expect everybody to play that. But anyway, so my point is that Stellaris hasn't been doing so hot lately, in the DLC department at the very least. And Paradox, we all know, has not been doing so hot lately, just in general with their game releases in general. Especially games like City Skylines 2. I was looking forward to that. But without further ado, like I said, I'm going to stop talking and we're just going to watch the video, and I'm not going to interrupt. We're going to watch it all the way through. This is a premiere, so strap yourselves in, and let's get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and change sources here. And go ahead and real quick. Okay, this is my response to the Dev Diary feedback request. So I noticed Montu just dropped a video about this, and I thought about making a reaction video to it, but I don't want to risk getting flagged or anything against terms of service. Not that Montu would do that, so I will make a response to the diary questions itself. I have already left a comment on Montu's video, so if you saw that, you will notice those same points here. I will not waste your time reading the wall of text of the diary. If you want, you can read that. I will simply answer the question. So starting with Stellaris, to you, I believe the development as of late has put way too much focus on RP content and not nearly enough into improving the game mechanics and content that matters like Machine Age did. So to really simplify and shorten this, make more Machine Age level content and only do the RP side quest content just enough to keep the people that like it from quitting. So an example of what this could look like, and what I would like to see, a Machine Age level release every 6 months or a year, and a RP event, wall of text, side quest focused DLC every 2 years or so. Right now it seems like you have a Machine Age level event every 3 years, mixed in with 5 meh, yawn, story pack DLC that is priced almost as much as the Machine Age. That leads me to the next thing, price. Paradox, please listen. My viewers have commented over and over about how pricey the DLC is each release. However, I think the big problem that needs to be addressed is you still have releases that are almost 10 years old, priced barely less than they were on release. The subscription feature is not good enough. You really need to either make that DLC permanently dirt cheap or simply add it to the base game as a thank you to your loyal and potential new player base. This would actually net you more money and revenue from the new players that would try Stellaris if they knew they were getting a much bigger game now than the original. The old content is not going to make any more revenue like the new stuff will. Also, you will get mad respect from your player base, and it would improve your brand drastically, which from what I have heard, it is on the rocks. especially after astral planes and cosmic storms. On that, I think there needs to be more consideration given to what your players want to see versus what you want to see for yourselves. Don't be like the fun pimps from 7 Days to Die that ignored their players and make content and balance changes that they want to see only. Okay, let's talk about what is sacred and what should not be touched. Okay, let me think. I think one of the most perfect systems you guys have is most likely the diplomacy system, though that's a tough call because there is really improvements that could be made to that as well. But overall, it's pretty good. You know, I got screwed by hyperlane placement, sometimes, but I overall have been helped by it way more than hurt. So that is something I think does not need much attention. Oh, I got one. Stop nerfing machine empires. In fact, stop nerfing period. You don't need to nerf anything 99% of the time. Just add more content and make the other aspects more playable rather than making a good feature unplayable. That's all you need to do. I'm going to make a video about this, but overbalance obsession is a game killer, so don't do it please. Look at Overwatch, Helldivers, Space Marine 2, and many more for examples of how nerfs ruin games. Okay, so now to the list of features I have compiled in my head over my various live streams of Stellaris with my community. Here goes. 1. Warfare needs a complete overhaul, specifically the war exhaustion feature. It is not accurate or reliable in indicating with any realism who is winning, and it prevents complete victories way too often. An example of this is getting to the last planet just to run out of war exhaustion and be forced to let the Empire live. This is very frustrating and annoying, and I cannot be alone. Also, there are way too many instances where all the enemy fleets are gone, all planets taken, yet war exhaustion does not even move, or give you positive acceptance for requesting victory. This is unacceptable regardless of what the reasons might be. Also, I have hours of footage that proves that it is very obvious that the computer uses AI fleet tactics and strategies that seem to try to waste as much playtime as possible instead of actually trying to win or get the most favorable outcome for the war. I am not saying that AI needs to be more difficult, but far less annoying in its strategy. For the love of God as well, hit and run needs to be disposed of or reworked. It is so unrealistic, aggravating, and wastes playtime. If I defeat a fleet, that should be it. I should not have to fight them 6 more times, nor should they be teleporting onto planets I have already conquered. If they don't have a system with a shipyard, then they shouldn't spawn and should be lost. This would place strategic importance on capturing starbases and shipyards like real sci-fi battles. The other solution that needs to be considered is forcing victory on any empire that loses all their planets and starbases. Maybe fleets as well, though that's negotiable. This would simplify and shorten wars. The reason why you don't want long, aggravating wars, where you have to chase the computer around for hours and fight its fleets 6 times, is that it's not fun and it burns players out. So wars need to be as short as possible to avoid this. This is perhaps the #1 reason I have 1200 hours in Stellaris and not 10,000, because I love conquering, but warfare feels like work. It's not fun. So yeah, please change that. The biggest way you could fix war exhaustion is allow players to remove it during war by doing certain things, like winning battles where the KD ratio is really good. What I mean by that is you lost way less ships than they did. You basically whooped their butt. Example, the report says that they lost 6 ships, but you only lost 2 ships. Therefore, you gain back 2% war exhaustion. You occupy one of their biggest planets, so you get 20%, etc. But give players a way to remove their exhaustion if they are absolutely stomping their opponent. It's called morale. If a force has high morale, they will not tire or burn out like a force that is losing. Also, make war exhaustion way more accurate. If I capture a system that should give them more exhaustion, especially highly populated planets, and especially if I annex them during war, i.e. I capture them with Devouring Swarm. Also on Devouring Swarm and other empires that completely remove or are basically in canon and in lore, inspired from real-life sci-fi tropes that don't tire, don't get exhausted, such as the Borg or the Tyranids, a devouring swarm or a driven assimilator, it really doesn't make sense to have war exhaustion with those empires. So with those kinds of empires that it would apply to, those civics and origins, you need to add war exhaustion immunity to those kinds of empires. So for example, if I'm playing a determined exterminator, I don't have to worry about war exhaustion. I'm immune to it. Just an example. So that's something that also needs to be done. It needs to be done. It's very immersion breaking when I'm playing one of those empires, like a determined exterminator or a devouring swarm, and I get a status quo. That makes no sense to me at all. So yeah. The second biggest change I feel must be made and is long overdue and requested by myself and my community is the espionage and spy network system. This feature is perhaps the most useless and waste of a feature. I am trying to be nice here. First, this system needs to be drastically simplified. The main purpose of spying is to gather intel so that we can see their ships, planets, empire strength, and other critical information, and we need to know this quickly. Not in 50 years. If I got a devouring swarm next to me I'm spying on, I won't have 50 years to wait to see how strong he is compared to me, what his fleet strength looks like, etc. This information needs to be attained realistically before they decide to jump me. Also, there is way too much silly stuff and things that have nothing to do with intel gain. Those need to get removed. I bet people might like those ideas, but I'm sure they would much rather have a fast intel gain on an empire that might end their run or add to their power than merely disabling a building on a starbase. An example for what this could look like is you have several levels of spy network. First you have systems, then planets, then relative power, then fleets, then ship detail, finally. If you remove an envoy, you gradually lose intel levels until you reach your general intel level, or you put an envoy back on and it starts up again. The way it is right now, I could go an entire game with a spy network and not even know where their fleets are, much less their weapons details so I can counterplay, which really should be the true reason for gaining intel. You could even make it an influence dump. The next issue holding this game back, I believe, is habitability. The average empire will only be able to use maybe 20% of the planets they claim before mid-game or late game. There are way too many uninhabitable planets. The obvious fix for this is to shorten the planet types from 9 to 3 and give them the same values. Example, instead of one wet type being 80%, all 3 types are 80%. In fact, I don't think this is enough. I think only one planet type should be yellow and the others should be different percentages of green. There should be no red except for tomb worlds. Another fix, if not the planet types, at least make buildings that raise habitability that can be spammed. That way we can still use the districts in the beginning and replace the buildings later as we get terraforming. Speaking of terraforming, it needs to cost less for normal planets, be way more likely to pop up in tech choices, and ecological adaptation should be removed. It's repetitive. It is also unrealistic. Terraformers live on planets they terraform in most sci-fi novels. There is also the idea of making species modification for habitability easier to do or have early game. This could also be a fix. Bottom line, we need to be able to use most, not all, but most of the planets we claim. Most people play on small maps, so this is even more important. Just play tall, you say? No. Most players prefer a wide playstyle. Also, ask anyone. It is almost always more fun to conquer the galaxy than ruling it pulling the strings with a tiny empire. Also, unless you are playing a niche build, tall will not be nearly as enjoyable or entertaining as wide. Virtual Ascension may be fun, but I don't want to play it all the time. If I am playing a standard empire, I will usually need at least 10 workable planets to have a good time, before the other empires box me in. All too often I get games where I cannot get more than 3 habitables because the other 10 planets in my territory are all 60% or less. Honestly, I think the most appealing option would be the building solution. This is also the most balanced. This way you get to use the planet, then can use all of it later on as you get more tech. Since you want to free up those building slots, you will still be motivated to explore the other alternatives to raising habitability, such as migration treaties, species modification, and terraforming. The next big issue, and this has been a source of frustration but for many viewers, is the job and pop mechanics in Stellaris. For one, I think it is silly that I cannot simply place my pops on the job I want them to work by clicking and dragging. I don't know the reasons I cannot do this, but there really shouldn't be any good reason I can't, and if no, then that reason needs to be addressed and changed so that I can. The plus-minus button system sucks bad. There needs to be a lot more control here when it comes to being notified when a new pop is being made, and placing that pop where it is most effective. I think that would be the easiest, most straightforward fix. No overhaul or throwing out required. See, complex is not always better, Paradox. One of the reasons StarCraft 2 is such a great strategy game was because they absolutely nailed it on quality of life and UI elements. They also had complexity while keeping things simple at the same time. So I think simplicity is the key word I recommend focusing on going forward. How can we make our systems and features less convoluted and simpler without making it dull or boring? However, I seldom have seen it where something was too simple that it was dull. That usually indicates another problem. Really, Paradox, we could end the video there. You really want to know how to fix your reputation in Stellaris, make money, and bring in new players while retaining loyal ones. Do these things, I am imploring you. You won't be disappointed. However, there are more questions here, so I will get to those too. So most of the sample questions you posted, these solutions will answer. But I did see a question about trade. First off, I think trade should be absolutely last priority compared to the aforementioned issues, so I highly recommend improving that first before you look at trade, which is really not that bad compared to the other issues. I will say, however, that you could make trade more impactful. If anything, give a lot more control over piracy than you do. Wasting fleets to patrol is ridiculous, and I have never done it, nor did I need to. Most games I can completely ignore trade and be fine. As of right now, trade is more of a niche thing that you focus on if you are playing the right empire. Speaking of right empire, I think the number one most positive thing I like about Stellaris is the variety of different empire builds you can play. It has really kept me playing over the years. So I guess with trade, maybe consider making more build possibilities surrounding trade than adjusting current mechanics. As of right now, only options for trade builds are nothing and the 2 megacorp playstyles. So I would not be opposed to adding more trade-based content. Also, do not for the love of God make colonization harder. After what I said about habitability, I think I made why clear. Colonization is not too easy. If anything, it is too infrequent, difficult, and random. Put it this way, any game I spawn in and I'm only using 3 planets by year 60 is a fail in my book, unless I am doing a challenge. The player needs to be able to find planets they can use fast, especially if they want to optimize their economy later. So interesting question about the Civic and Origins. Honestly though, I think they are fine. I think the issue is not enough relevant or playstyle changing Civics and Origins. So just make more. That they are Civic or Origin does not matter as much. I do not even notice most of the time. If I was able to wave a magic wand and make a feature disappear, it would either be War Exhaustion or the Galactic Community. Though I think War Exhaustion could live with the changes I proposed, I am going to get hate for this, but the Galactic Community either needs to be removed or stop punishing players who join it. It's silly that I can leave the community and get half my economy back that I didn't even know was missing. Make the resolution straight up bonuses or remove the feature entirely. As far as the next DLC you should make, I highly recommend making a DLC focused around genetic ascension, hive mind, and all things biological, just as the Machine Age focused on cybernetic, synthetic, and machine empires. Hive mind is extremely popular with your player base too, and genetic ascension has been neglected for way too long. Every other ascension path has been explored except that one. I think the potential for this idea is huge. The next DLC that you make could be a DLC centered around warfare and playstyles that thrive off being at war constantly. You could even rip off the Klingons. Also, could make a hunter empire similar to Predator in Aliens vs Predator, also known as the Yucha, I think that's how it's pronounced. or the Horojim from Star Trek Voyager. There are actually some more issues that I feel deserve a mention. One of the changes that really disrupted me recently was the sudden overbalancing done to federations and vassalization. I agree that vassalization was too OP and needed a small adjustment. However, I still feel that the adjustment was a little more than I would have liked. The Federation changes, however, completely baffled me. Since the change Federation spawns have ended a majority of my games, I would be doing well just to run into a Federation fleet that had been building up since game start that was literally 4 to 5 times the size of my largest fleet, even though I outnumbered the rest of their fleet a great deal on a difficulty that was not even that hard. This is unacceptable and very imbalanced. First, I have no idea how that sounded like a good idea to allow that to be possible in the first place. Sudden changes like this are jarring and discourage players. I just can't figure out how allowing the computer AI to have a 100k fleet by year 300 did not sound imbalanced. To be fair, I have not seen this exact issue in a while, so you may have fixed it. If so, good job. However, there are still way too many Federation starts I feel in the average game. Another issue is that unlike Advanced and Fallen Empires, I cannot turn off Federation starts. This needs to be an option. Hey guys, real quick, I just wanted to interject in the video here and show you what I'm talking about with Federations. So, we have this small fleet here, okay? This is the average size of this Empire's fleets, okay? None of them are over 20,000, right? My biggest fleet is 30,000, okay? And as you can see, there's a couple empires that are more powerful than me, but not by much, and most of the other empires, I dwarf them or equivalent. Now, you see that fleet. Now look at this fleet right here. And you could tell it's a Federation fleet because it's blue. And it's got this star right here, okay? So, it's got that Federation fleet. 74,000 fleet power. Wow. That's all I wanted to say. Oh, and by the way, it's year 2300. So, yeah. No way I'm going to beat that fleet. Yeah, they have not fixed it. So when it comes to diplomacy, I mentioned that it was fine. But then I thought about trust. I feel this is an underdeveloped mechanic. I think we should be able to do way more with this feature, and it should have way more power than we do. Also, there are way too many times where I cannot join a federation because of low acceptance even though I have max trust and very good relations with each member. This is not acceptable either, and needs adjustment. This discourages me even more from enjoying the changes you have made recently to federations because I cannot even join them easily or at all. Trust could give you acceptance bonuses and even guarantee acceptance if it is maxed out, which it should do. This is only logical. One of the silly factors making the previously mentioned issues even more difficult is distance penalties. These should get removed. Each empire has intergalactic technology, so distance should not mean anything when it comes to relationships and communication. So many times I could have explored new possible alliances and strategies and plot twists in my empire's progression if distance was not a thing. It also is applied way too readily, so at the very least make it much less likely to be applied or reduce the penalty drastically. Speaking of penalties that make the game not fun, the is overlord penalty is very unnecessary and excessive. The reason this is a literal buzzkill is because once they are an overlord, they are unable to be vassalized ever without force. This makes no sense when you are way stronger than their entire block, and they just have one single planet vassal anyway. Changing or removing this penalty completely would prevent players from feeling stuck between power blocks, which nobody wants. The other reason Federation spam is not a good thing. Another issue before I forget is performance. I understand Stellaris is very big in scope, and demands a lot of hardware resources, but I do believe some optimizations to larger maps are in order if it is possible. You could always install settings that make the computer run better on potatoes. Even call it a potato meter. The lower the slider, the better the performance, but the crappier the game looks. Furthermore, Bulwark badly needs a rework. Actually, Bulwark doesn't need a rework, it just needs the taxes removed or drastically reduced. 30% default is ridiculous, this alone makes it not a viable pick. Instead, maybe make the target empire generate less research. What really needs a rework and is in a very sad state right now is defenses in general. Right now, once the game has reached year 300, any fleet can roll up to a starbase 4 times its fleet power and obliterate it without losing any ships, especially once battleships come out. This is sad because so many times I wanted to play a Bulwark like Empire, but scrapped the idea because of the sad state of platforms and starbase power. Even with unyielding, it makes no difference. This leads me to the next issue I feel would breathe fresh air into the game and allow for a lot more playstyles if either removed or balanced: frigates and torpedoes. Because of these things, I cannot do defense or anything but monohull carriers when playing against the computer AI. The first problem with torpedoes is that while it makes sense for them to destroy battleships, they seem to be just as effective against smaller ships like destroyers. Frigates should be a support ship, but the computer spams them like corvettes. Each one can take out a battleship and a large starbase. How does that make sense? I personally feel we went way too overboard with torpedoes. I understand monohulling battleships is boring every game. Yet at the same time, battleships should always be the meta because of their technological and economic cost. You should always win if you have more battleships. However, I do have some solutions. First, you can put a cap on the amount of frigates an empire can have in their fleet, or just remove them and instead replace them with new hull types that are at the same power level as battleships, or different types of battleships. For example, you could officially make a carrier hull, one with better hangar sections than your standard battleship. You could make another hull that has even better artillery sections. You can even have this idea for the other existing hull types as well, especially cruisers. Another thing you could do that would bring much balance to the game in other ways as well is let point defense destroy torpedoes. This would introduce more counterplay, is a simple change developmentally, and make point defense great again, or flak, whatever you choose. But having no counter to torpedoes other than carriers just does not make sense to me. Okay, so I'm going to touch on another thing: PvP. I have heard so many content creators that promote you complain a lot about the state of PvP, and whenever I think about joining that space, their complaints and comments from my viewers stop me. Apparently there's certain optimization issues or whatnot. I am not fully aware of the details because I am not a PvP focused player, but I do know this: having a bad PvP scene or frustrating PvP scene in any game that features it is a very bad thing. Even if you don't like PvP, there are so many players that do. Also, I have enjoyed watching PvP matches in the past on YouTube, so I would definitely recommend dedicating someone to fixing PvP to the point where people are giving positive feedback about it. I know some of your most well-known creators are very big on multiplayer content, so making multiplayer smooth should be a priority, even have its own dedicated personnel. However, please, just whatever you do, don't try to turn Stellaris into an esport. No, just no. Let the players do that under the table if they wish. Another huge topic: the UI. This is another hot one. There are way too many parts of the UI to go over at once, so I will just name my biggest request here. Please add a UI element that tracks your economic changes from month to month with details as to why they happened. For example, if I lose 15 alloy gain when last month I had 45, I really need to know why that happened. As of right now, there is almost no way to track that. I have to guess. This is further aggravated by the job issue, but we already talked about that. Another issue before I forget is performance. I understand Stellaris is very big in scope and demands a lot of hardware resources, but I do believe some optimizations to larger maps are in order if it is possible. You could always install settings that make the computer run better on potatoes. Even call it a potato meter. The lower the slider, the better the performance, but the crappier the game looks. So the last topic I want to bring up, and man, this has been a long video, is the idea of Stellaris 2 or a sequel to Stellaris. If you were asked me about this recently, and I wanted to discuss it here since I think it's relevant to the future of Stellaris, I have one major concern about Stellaris 2. Lately, let's face it, you guys have struggled with your recent sequel releases, such as City Skylines 2. That is sad because I was looking forward to that game, but I didn't pick it up when I saw it had mixed reviews and the controversy surrounding it. This cannot happen with Stellaris. Obviously for my sake, but also the rest of us creators and the community. We love your game you have made here. Despite everything I have just said, Stellaris is a beautiful game. I mean, I actually should thank you. If it wasn't for this game, I may not have this many subscribers. I still think I would have got here eventually, but who knows how soon that would have been. Your game put me on the map, so because of that, you deserve a thank you from me. That is why I want you to know that I made this video to help you guys, especially since you did ask for feedback. So when it comes to Stellaris 2, I recommend that to avoid making a stinker and make all the mods and DLC you came out with over the years irrelevant, just make a Stellaris 2.0 instead, or an upgraded version of the base game, where you take all these ideas I have brought up, address them as you see fit, and additional content that enhances the base game, but is still compatible with the DLC we have and love. I mean, I hope you take some of these suggestions, but I understand if you do not. Some parts of this will be more difficult, but think of it as a super expansion. Same engine, but a much better base game mechanically and quality of life wise. Simple. I want to say one more thing, Paradox. I want to tell you about the story about the goose who laid the golden egg. A goose laid a golden egg. For a time, its owner let it lay eggs and became very wealthy. One day, though, he got greedy and lost sight of the goose's true value. In order to get as much wealth as he could from the goose, he killed it, cut it open, but found no golden eggs. He soon lost all his wealth and became poor after. Don't be another company that does this in today's day and age, Paradox. Break the mold and set an example for other developers and publishers to follow. If you care more about money than pleasing your customers, you will have neither in the long run. So that's it for now. Hope you guys liked that. And Paradox, if you happen to see this video and want to contact me or consult me about this stuff in any way, you can reach me through my Discord DMs. As for my viewers, if you like my stuff, go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to see me in your feed. Comment and let me know what you think. Attend my live streams and join my Discord if you want to hang out with me. Hit the join button if you want to invest in the channel. Super thanks and super chats if you think I deserve it. Regardless, thanks for the view and the time, and I'll see you again. Okay. Yeah, that was the video, guys. I hope you liked it. There was a lot. Yeah, this video's loaded, and it was really long. I know. This is my second longest video I've ever made for Stellaris, by far. Yeah, the longest one was actually a multi-parter too. So this is actually probably the longest standalone video I've ever made. That wasn't like chopped up into parts first and then brought together into a bigger video. So that's why the editing is not as professional or as, you know, on point as you might expect from me normally in like my guides and stuff. But it is edited enough to, you know, keep you interested, or at least that I hope it will. So, because it was so long, but the thing of it is, it had to be that long. I really did try really hard to shorten it, but there was really so much. In fact, I could put more into this. There were things that, like, while I was making this video, I was like, oh, damn, I forgot to talk about that. Or, oh, damn, I forgot to talk about that. I mean, you know, or mention that, like, for example, I did put a text in about it, but I would have loved to have said something about the fact that every time you get a leader death notification, there is no go-to button. That is infuriating. You know, I can't imagine how that is good for any reason. But yeah, so, and look, we're not gonna rant. I've made my points in this video for the most part. but we are going to talk about it. But like, oh, and by the way, so that's the end of the premiere, and we're not going to have any gameplay today. So if you just hopped on to watch gameplay, that's not what this stream is about today. Stay tuned for the next Stellaris show, which should be in a few days. Okay. That and again, I apologize to anybody that disappoints. I wanted to talk about this more. Now I did talk about this a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago before I released this video. But it was just a script. So now you've gotten to see the actual video as it's presented, perfectly, or not perfectly, but polished and put together and much better presented. And so, feel free to start chatting anytime. I'll be happy to ask questions or anything about this. I really, for me, I know this whole showing my own video thing and stuff like this, all this, what I'm doing here kind of seems a little narcissistic. In a way, kind of like I'm basically, not only am I talking about my video, but I'm streaming about it, premiering and stuff like that. It comes with the territory. I assure you that I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or give myself too much praise or anything like that. I just feel like I do feel like I mostly did a decent job with presenting what I feel are the facts. Now, feelings aren't facts, but at the same time, like, perspective does play a role in a lot of, and so this, like, again, this was my overall perspective. However, there were quite a few things you may have noticed in here that I brought up that you have seen in other videos, that you have heard other commenters in those videos talk about, mention. I don't know how many times I've heard other creators besides me, big creators, mention the espionage system and how lackluster and how useless it is, while trying to be nice about the way they're saying it. And I think that's the other reason this video, I think, is powerful, is because I don't really pull any punches. I'm polite, but I'm not nice in this video. They asked. Paradox asked, or the Stellaris dev team. I don't really mince or do semantics there. Like, they're all under the same umbrella, okay? The devs do what Paradox tells them to, and it's the devs' decision to do that. And I haven't made, I had a couple comments about, 2 or 3 months ago, I think after my DLC video was released, that were like, oh, well, it's not the devs' fault. Devs did nothing wrong. I disagree with that. I think that, if when you do business with somebody, you share that person's values, you agree to that business partnership, and it's your choice whether to stay or leave. And if it's your choice to stay, then that's your responsibility. Then you take on everything that responsibility entails. So while I'm not saying that everything is the Stellaris dev team's fault specifically, they're in bed with Paradox, so they're controlled by Paradox, and they're willing participants, willing to do that. So as long as they're willing to do that, and be in that agreement, in that relationship, I do hold them accountable for the things that Paradox does to an extent. Now, I'm not stupid. Obviously, there's some exceptions there, of course, as with everything. But like, I'm not talking specifically about the exceptions. But yeah, and obviously, for example, the Stellaris dev team wasn't responsible for City Skylines 2. I'm mainly talking about Paradox there. But yeah, but this stuff is stuff that we've been bitching about for years. Let's face it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. A lot of us, I know I'm not the only one that's bitched for years about the espionage system. I'm not the only one that's bitched for years about warfare. I mean, it was in Montu's latest video. When I saw it, I was like, wow, dude, yeah. You know, I was like, finally. I thought I was the only one, right? And that's the other thing that kind of prompted me to make the video too. I mean, and why I spoke about warfare first, because he's correct and it is true. And I've always you've heard me bitch about the warfare system. You've heard me complain and gripe about a lot of the stuff that I mentioned in this video. This is a long time coming. And so, yeah, be careful, devs. You ask your players for feedback, you're going to get honest answers. And so I think that's the thing I really wanted to convey in this video is just honesty. I wanted to be honest about the issues, and at the very least, honest about how I felt about the issues for once. You know, I've been quiet about some of this stuff. Like, you know, I other than my live streams, I've never sent a video before about my opinions on the galactic community, nor have I made any guides or videos specifically about that I can remember. Okay. You know, and I might have in my, you know, old tutorial video, but then again, I was still learning. So, you know, this video is coming after all this time. And, you know, now I want to address another thing too. Some of you guys may think that, oh, well, the Stellaris doesn't need to be saved. Stellaris is just fine. Okay, that's your opinion. But you need to look no farther than the Steam reviews for their latest DLC to see that, hey, we got an issue. Okay? There is some serious stuff going on. I mean, if nothing else, you gotta agree with me that, like, the review count for the DLC that gets released is a real shame, because it could be so much better, I think. That especially Machine Age, I was floored when I saw the review count for that. I was like, wow, I thought everybody would want to pick this up. But then I saw the price and I was like, $25. I mean, I know I paid for it. I mean, but I didn't think that much of it at the time. But then when I really thought about it, I was like, yeah, I could see some people, especially today, in this day and age, going, man, $25 is just too much, you know? And like I said, I hate to reverse myself on my DLC video, but I'm not really reversing myself, because, see, it's really just depends on what's worth it to you. If you have the money and you think it's worth it, then it's not too expensive, you know? But to someone who doesn't have a lot of money and may not be as well off, you know, that a steak dinner might be too expensive for them. So, I mean, you know, I recently have gone through financial troubles. I mean, you guys know, I just moved to another country. That costs a lot of money. And a lot of it was money I was not expecting to go out. So, you know, I'm still kind of reeling from that. But at the end of the day, I did want to, you know, finish the video at least by saying, one, and I'll say it again, Paradox, thank you. Thank you for the opportunities you've given me with your game. I mean, obviously, look, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, and I'm not trying to say that Stellaris and the devs and Paradox do nothing good. No, they're doing good things. They have done good things, and I do appreciate the stuff they've done. In fact, if it weren't for that, this would just be a total bashing. You know, I wouldn't even make this video. I would just quit playing Stellaris, and I would start focusing on other games and make the best of it. If I hated Stellaris, I don't hate Stellaris. So I just want to make that clear. I do not hate Stellaris. I think Stellaris is a great game, but it does have a lot of problems, as we've seen, as this video shows. You know, I believe, I'll be humble and say, I believe this video is about at least 80% correct. And that's being generous. I think it's more like 90-95. There might be a few things here that could be argued with me about, especially, you know, tall versus wide in the galactic community. I know some people are going to disagree with me about that. And to all of you that do, you know what? I agree to disagree with you. But, you know, I'm not going to throw hate back at you. You know, I keep things professional. You know, we don't have to fight over this, but, like, I am not a tall player. I never have been. I think it's boring, but there's a lot of other people that do. And a lot of the comments I see in my channel and on other channels, a lot of them talk about playing wide and enjoying it. And I think I think what something we can all agree with when it comes to the tall versus wide issue is that no one should be forced to play tall. Okay? Playing tall is something that you should choose, not something that you should be forced into or that you have no other choice but to do. Anytime that situation comes up, that's indicative to a flaw with the game, in my opinion. Yeah, people should be allowed to play wide if they wish, and that's really honestly goes to a bigger core issue that anytime any dev tries to force players to play a certain way or to have a certain play style, that never works in my experience. That always pisses people off, including me. I know I'm not alone on this. Especially, when it comes to like nerfing or making playstyles and features irrelevant, that were previously relevant. That is also very frustrating. And I don't think a lot of devs and a lot of publishers get that. I don't think they do. I mean, look what just happened with Space Marine 2. Look what's been happening with Helldivers. And I don't even play Helldivers, and I only briefly played Space Marine 2, but I respect those games. I mean, I respect that a lot of people like them. They have gotten good press in the past, but they've also gotten bad press because one of the devs will think it's a good idea to nerf a feature into oblivion or take the fun away with a nerf or a balance adjustment. I call it balance obsession. Okay. So here's another core issue I see with a lot of developers that I want to hit on as well. Balance obsession. There is just, it's a losing game. It really is. I remember when I first started playing Overwatch. And I hate to use that as an example over and over again, but I am a very big Blizzard player. A lot of us are. Okay, that's why I use it so much. I know that a lot of you relate with what has happened to Blizzard in the past 20 years. Okay, myself included, and have watched it, thrive and then fall. And I think one of the things that made Blizzard Activision fall, or at least Blizzard, is their obsession with balancing their games. Is balance obsession, where see, the principle here is that nothing will ever be perfect. Nothing is perfect. So you are always someone is always going to be dissatisfied with, the adjustments or with the way the game is. Okay. And obviously this video is proof of that. I guess at the end of the day, I am technically just another guy that has an opinion, that isn't happy with the state of the game. Okay, sure, fair point. But at the same time, I do feel a lot of the stuff that I talk about in this video is, I wanted to make sure that the stuff I talked about in this video was either stuff that I could back up with actual video evidence that you guys have seen, and or stuff that I have heard from others over and over again. And almost everything here qualifies for that, with a couple exceptions. That text I briefly displayed about, my opinion on the habitat changes they made to the habitability, and how much that annoyed me. I never really gave a lot of voice to that, and I don't think I've seen a lot of videos, bitching about that. Okay, fair enough. But the espionage system, absolutely. And Montu himself just talked about warfare and said the same things that I'm saying. That it needs to be changed, it needs an overhaul. It is obsolete. It does not work right. Now, I think his take on warfare was a little different than mine, which of course that's only natural. But while we have a difference of opinion there, I think basically me and him could at least agree that, like, I'm sure we could agree that it needs to be changed. It needs to be looked at. It could be so much better than it is. You know, that's the bottom line. And with all these recommendations, see, that's the other thing. I made a lot of recommendations in this video, and I did that on purpose because it's one thing to just do a 30-minute bitch session and just say, this is wrong, that's wrong, I don't like this, and just leave it at that, and offer no solution in return, or no, I hate that. I do my best not to do that. When I get upset about something, or something bothers me, you know, or I have a problem with something, especially in a video game, I try to give a solution, or you know, a recommendation, a suggestion of some kind as to how it can be fixed, because that's the only way to move forward, really, from mistakes, is to get back up and, you know, try again better, or, you know, just, you know, do it in a better way. I mean, and so I want to bring that cooperative spirit. Like I said, I'm not making this video just to attack Paradox and the Stellaris dev team. Like I said, I'm making this video because I care, is my overarching point. So, yeah, I mean, now I'm actually anxious to know how much hate I'm gonna get over my galactic community mention, because I think there's kind of two camps. There's a camp that, like, oh, this is fun, this is cool, I like all this little stuff, and that's fine. You do you, man. But then there's guys like me that are like, dude, why the hell did I get half my economy back when I left? That, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So that's always been the problem for me, the galactic community. Like, every time I wanted to try it and mess with it, but every time I have in the past, one, it's not very intuitive also. And that's kind of the problem with the UI in general that I didn't mention in this video. The lack of intuitiveness, you know, of the UI. But anyway, back to the galactic community. I'm looking at all this stuff, I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to be the Emperor? How am I supposed to turn the Emperor? How am I supposed to do this? How am I, like, there doesn't seem to be any options here to do any of that stuff. This all just seems like bonuses and deficits. I mean, you know, what do I even do here? Like, it's not, like I said, it's not intuitive at all. And a lot of the stuff that it says it gives you is like, okay, I care about that because, like, I know I sound like a dick, but I think that's kind of why at least some of you are going to like this video. And I think that's why some of you watch me, is because I cut the BS. I do in a lot of my videos. Now, in my streams, I talk a lot, because you're kind of supposed to do that on a stream, to be honest. But, you know, in my guides and stuff, when I'm trying to teach things, I try to cut the bullshit as much as possible. I really do. And so when I look at the galactic community, I'm just like, look at all this fluff. Like, why can't we? I want to do something cool with this. Like, I don't. And not to mention time. That's the other thing. In order to do it really seems like the impression I got is that in order to do anything meaningful with the galactic community, it takes a lot of time. The other thing too is I haven't found a way at all to do anything with it that doesn't require you to be number one on the leaderboard. Now, if you're number one on the leaderboard, I think there is more things you can do with the galactic community, for sure. I've seen it. However, if you are just the average Empire, like you're not on the leaderboard yet, the galactic community offers nothing. Really nothing. I mean, you can't even be a council member. Like, yeah, so I think so I will be fair. I will say, you know what? I don't think the galactic community needs to be thrown out necessarily. I don't think any of these features, like I said before, we don't need to make features. We need to take the unplayable features that exist and make them more playable and them more relevant, either to the point where they outshine the more powerful ones, or they're just as good. basically the principle is increasing play styles, right? Just increasing the amount of play styles. I think one of the most powerful things about games like Overwatch, and you know what? Even the MOBA games. I played MOBA briefly. I know, guilty as charged. I had to try at least once. I was like, all right, I want to see what they're talking about. I don't like MOBAs, and today I don't. But yeah, I went through a little phase there, a short-lived phase where I was like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can enjoy this. And I tried it out. And I do, I've heard a lot, and we've all heard a lot about MOBA games. But like one of the things that I did like about my brief experience, and the game was Dota 2, just to let you know. Which one was it? Was it League of Legends or no, it was Dota 2. And it was on Steam and it was free to play. So I was like, fuck it, why not? So I played Dota 2. Well, one of the things that I did like about it was that there were a lot of freaking choices as to how you wanted to play. There were so many heroes, and that was why I liked Overwatch. I loved Overwatch because, yeah, they need to fix a lot of things. I just hope that some of the devs play the games so that they know how their player feels. Yes, and that's another problem, I think, and I didn't mention it in the video and wish I had. Actually, I kind of did. But, like, devs, I think Paradox and Stellaris devs are having that problem where, like, I don't think they really play the content that they're working on after it's finished or before they're about to release it. Now, obviously, testing it before they release it, you know, there's some negatives there, because if they turn around to the publisher, and this is where the publisher comes in and where they're responsible for this bullshit, is they'll be like, oh yeah, well, we played this and it kind of sucks. We would like to go and change it, make some of these changes here and adjustments and whatnot, and see if we can make it better. And Paradox goes, no, release it anyway. We're on a time schedule. CFO bullshit, right? And that leads me to another thing. I really wish I had put in the video. Is the fact that what happened to companies in general, and customer service, and caring, like putting customers first, that the customer is always right. What happened to those ideals? Like, when did it just become about money? See, like I ended with my goose and the golden egg analogy, which I'm sure many of you have heard many times throughout your lives. Some of you have never heard that, though, and to you guys, I say welcome. Welcome to my channel, because this is the kind of stuff that I believe in, and this is the stuff I will eventually talk about. And let me know if you want to hear more about, like, philosophy in general, or just even gaming philosophy, just this, or any spiritual stuff. Like, I have come out with a couple videos that were sort of spiritual in nature, sort of self-improvement, motivation based. I like to do that stuff, but it doesn't get a lot of views. So if you do like that, just let me know. I appreciate it. But anyway, back to what I'm talking about. The goose that lays the golden egg. What happened to those days? In fact, if you look at the golden era of gaming back, which is, a lot of people argue, was like in 2012, 2011. I think it was 2011. That was the year that Skyrim came out, and it was either that year or around that year that Mass Effect 3 came out, the best and last good Mass Effect game that was ever released, that I had the pleasure of playing at the time and beating. And even though the ending was pretty controversial, and I was kind of like, yeah, this is kind of weird, it was still all right. And you know what? The rest of the story carried it through. The ending was really the only questionable thing about that game. Everything, the rest of it was just a masterpiece. I'm sure no one's going to disagree with me on this. Mass Effect 3 was a masterpiece overall, other than the ending, which, got a lot of controversy, got a lot of heat. But even the ending wasn't too terrible. I chose the transhumanism option myself. But anyway, my point is that what happened to those days, guys? What happened to that? I know what happened, and a lot of us know what happened, but unfortunately, I don't really feel comfortable about talking about all the little details, you know. But there are some channels out there that are brave enough to do it. And so I kind of want to toe that line a little bit. That, yeah, like, but really, if nothing else, politics aside, all this other stuff aside, there are some principles that are constantly being violated by these AAA companies. And Paradox is no exception. Like I said, if you don't please your player base, if you don't make games that your players like or make changes that players like, you're going to lose your player base. They don't care what your vision is. They don't care about what you want. Okay? We don't. We want you to make a great game. And if you don't make a great game, we're not going to play it. I mean, it's that simple. Like, and if you do things like put money first before the customer, if you do that kind of stuff, if you listen to your CFOs instead of your top content creators that are boots on the ground like I am right now, like Montu, who is well in touch with the community. I respect him as a YouTuber. I don't always agree with him, to be clear. But I mean, yeah, I do. I think he's probably the most respected Stellaris YouTuber right now. I know a couple YouTubers that would not like me saying that, but you know what? It's true. At least that's my opinion. It's they need to start listening to their communities and just ignore their CFOs. And maybe, yeah, some of them might get fired, but really, I think CFOs just need to play the damn game that they're working on. They need to play these games. They need to be invested. They need to have skin in the game. I see this over and over. They, like I said, not gonna get into politics or of it or anything, but the pattern I see is that these AAA companies, they will hire people to manage them, and this goes for a lot of other companies right now, not just gaming companies or publishers, but just companies in general across, where I come from and just across the world. Like, they bring people in that have no interest or any kind of personal investment or interest in their product or in their brand. They have, like, I don't know why they do this. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure it may make sense from a pure numbers standpoint, but, like, for example, if you're the Paradox, if you're Paradox, why would you hire somebody to be your CEO or CFO that has never played Stellaris? They've never played Hearts of Iron. They don't play video games. They don't like video games. Why would you hire those people? And this is the pattern I see. This is what's happening right now. Regardless of, any of the other stuff that you may see on YouTube that I don't talk about, I mean, at the very least, I think we all can agree that, like, a lot of, I think that's part of the problem, is a lot of CEOs and CFOs, especially, that are getting hired, they have no passion and no interest in the product that they're selling. I've been in sales, I've been in business. I mean, and to an extent, as a YouTuber, you have to be sort of a businessman, to an extent. Like, if you want to make money off of it, and I do. But at the same time, money is not the, you guys know, money is not the only reason I'm doing this. I could make money doing a lot of other things. I could day trade, right? I could just put my dick out there and just, and ride the roller coaster every day until I get somewhere, and then I could just ride the lazy river of, return investments. I mean, I could just play the stock market. There's all kinds of things I could do, really. If I was desperate enough, or if I had enough interest, there's all kinds of ways to make money. But I'm choosing this because I enjoy it. I enjoy it, and it also has a potential, at least right now, to make a lot of money. I mean, yeah, obviously, anybody can see that. But the thing of it is, like I said, I put the content first. And that's really, I think, what the CFOs don't understand, or people that make these kind of decisions that we're talking about here. It's like nothing matters to them other than squeezing as much dollars out of their players as they possibly can. Like I said, they are literally killing the goose here. And I can't, and really, I can't beat this dead horse enough. Really, I can't. So, yeah, I mean so that's why I made this video. It's just, and look, the other thing too, this is a Hail Mary. Okay, let's get real here. Like I said in text in the video, this is a Hail Mary. I really don't expect Paradox or the Stellaris devs to even notice that I exist. I'm a pretty small channel, to be honest. I mean, but you know what? I'm still gonna throw that football. I'm still gonna throw that Hail Mary. You know? And you know what? What you guys could do, any of you watching this, and you watch the video that I think it's up now. Let me go and check real quick. I almost pulled the video because of a blooper that I saw, a repeat clip. But you know what? It's already too late. I've already processed the video, set all the details, did the thumbnail, did all that stuff. I wouldn't have to really do those again, but I've edited it enough. It just needs to be released. I hope you all are okay with the repeat. Maybe it needs to be said twice. Who knows about the performance issues, right? I know you all saw that, so or some of you did. You know, I stated the performance issue twice. And again, apologize for that. Just, it's a blooper. You know, it happens to us YouTubers, you know, every now and then. And that happened to me. So, yeah, if you just forgive me for that, I appreciate it. Let me see here. Let me look at, okay, we got studio. Let me go to this image here. Yeah, there we go. All right. So back to that. Let's see here. All right. It's got 12 views, 2 likes. Okay. All right. Still way too early to tell, but it doesn't have like 100 dislikes, you know. That's what I care about. but yeah, it's up and it's titled. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about what this video was going to be titled because there were so many things that I could say. But I really think, honestly, the most clickbait, truest at the same time thing that I could put down is how to save Stellaris in 2024. I mean, I can't think of a more, you know, clickbait title that's actually true. That's actually what it talks about. Because really, if Paradox, and I guess I'm talking to them here too again. If I believe that if Paradox and the Stellaris devs did all this stuff that I said in my video, now look, I know this is very arrogant to say. Maybe it is. This could be very arrogant to say, but I'm just gonna say it. I really have a hard time believing that that they wouldn't fix their reputation and their wallets overnight if they fixed all the stuff in this video in one fell swoop. I mean, how many of us don't want to see a better espionage system or a better war system or fixes to all these problems that we've had for long, like rolling back the Federation changes they made, or just they don't even need to nerf it. They just need to make it an option. If you're a player out there and let's say, you know how to deal with the Federation changes. Okay, that's great. But for guys like me that have a real issue with it, let us turn it off. Why can't, I can turn off advanced AI starts. I can turn off fallen empires. Why can't I turn off Federation starts? It's just as powerful. it's just as overpowered. So like, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the other part I think that a lot of devs are missing is that, and publishers just don't get, is let us play the game the way we want to play it. Please. Give us tools, content that allow us to explore and play the game the way we want to. It's our game. I mean, we bought the game. It's our personal game anyway. No one's going to see it but us unless we want them to, like in the case of me. I want other people to see my game, but for the average player, it's like, leave him alone. Just so he wants to put in a mod that like, makes everybody naked. Let him do it. I mean, he's not hurting anybody. No one's gonna. Now, if he puts that on YouTube, obviously that's a problem. But like, if he's just watching it himself, stay out of his business. Like, let people do with your game what they want to. I think that's why mods are so popular, because it allows people to play the game the way they want to play it. And really, I think that's the underlying principle here. You gotta let players play the way they want to play. You have to give them options. You need to give them a lot of play styles. I don't want to play Virtual Ascension every single game. I don't think anybody does. I don't want to play Teachers of the Shroud every single game. I don't want to play Determined Exterminator as much as I like it every single game. I get bored. It's like, I remember this commercial, this little kid, he talks about his tongue getting bored, his taste buds getting bored, of eating the same food over and over again. And yeah, it's like that. We want variety. Most players want variety. I'm no exception. Like, when I play Overwatch, sometimes I feel like Roadhog, but then other times I'm like, you know what? I want to fail at Genji today. I want to fail at Genji one more time. I think maybe this will be the moment. This will be the moment that I'll actually land those shurikens, and I want to do that. Or sometimes I'm like, you know what, man, fuck that. I just want to play Junkrat and blow people up and insta-kill them. That's all I want to do, So let publishers, Paradox, Stellaris devs, let people play your game the way they want to play it. That's simple. I didn't really say that specifically in my video, but like I said, this all ties into what I talk about in there about the goose laying the golden egg. And if you don't take care of your players, you are not going to have a product. You are not going to make money. You are not going to be successful. There is no way around it. I didn't even take a business major, and I know that. It does not take a business major to figure that out. In fact, the first businessmen in history, they didn't even have that stuff. And they knew these principles, and they thrived, and they made tons of money. So really, it's not that hard. It's really not. I think we make it hard. I think it's just... But yeah, and like I said, this is a tough love video. This is not a, this is not a hate video. This is not an attack. I'm like I said, tough love. I love you, Paradox. I love you, Stellaris devs. I do. I care about you guys. I think you do. Your heart is in the right place. You're just listening. You're either listening to the wrong people, or you're basically doing what you want to do at the exclusion of what your players want to do. And that, like I said, and I want to say this too. Yeah, you would have thought Volairen loyalty is a thing, and hurting them will reduce your income. That's exactly how it is. But that is observable and provable, and I don't understand why these publishers, CFOs, don't see that. Your brand, my brand, your brand, the brand of the company, that has monetary value. That is an asset, okay? There's a reason why. I remember when I was growing up, and we had certain types of jeans that we could purchase, right? But I couldn't just purchase any jeans if I wanted to, quote unquote, be cool and fit in. You know, we've all been teenagers, right? And some of us are right now. You know how it is. You want to fit in. So there's only certain brand names that you can buy. Well, you know what? Every single one of those brand names, every single one of those companies, at least back then, they knew that. So they would price their brand much higher than other brands because of the brand. Now, I could go buy Levi's, right? For example, but if I wanted Jenkos, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. And I'm actually kind of ashamed that I used to wear those, but I did. It was the in thing where I was growing up and living as a kid. You know, yeah, you leave me a comment if you know what the hell those are. But anyway, they were these huge jeans, right? They're really baggy jeans, and they had a specific logo and everything, and they cost way more than Levi's. But you know what? They had their brand. You were paying for their brand. So yes, brand equals cash. I don't understand. So, I mean, look at the developers and the publishers that are doing it right now. From Software. Do I need to say more? Now, I'm not a Souls player. You guys know this. But even I wasn't born yesterday. You know, everybody knows From Software. Everybody knows the bangers that they've come out with. Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. Like, it is rare that games, media, any form of entertainment, comes out with 3 successful iterations of the same franchise in a row. That is rare. It happens, like, Lord of the Rings movie was an example of that, But yeah. And there's other publishers too, like you guys know that I played Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios. Perfect example of how they understand. They get it. They get that their reputation, how their players perceive them, is more important than squeezing a couple extra bucks out of their whales. Okay? And yeah, I said that word. But I'm not going to talk about that issue. That's a topic for another time. Man, boy, is it a topic. But anyway, I mean, I'm not saying anything anybody hasn't heard or can't find on the internet already. I mean, some of this stuff on here is stuff that you've already seen from other creators talk about, including Montu again. I just think this video, what makes this video special, at least to me, is that I haven't seen another video that cuts the bullshit the way this one does and just tells it how it is. That's how I feel. That's what I wanted to accomplish here with this video. Is like, tell it how it is. No, espionage isn't a little lackluster. No, it sucks. It's useless. It's garbage. And I don't want to maybe be harsh, but let's face it. Nobody cares about espionage. And it's a shame. Because, there's so many times, how do I increase my intel? Well, build a spy network. I make a spy network. It does nothing. For the entire game. I don't notice it at all. It's like, why did I even put this on here? I guess that's the best I can do right now. Yeah, the best I can do if I want intel on an empire is to put an envoy on a spy network and hope that something happens. Hope that, in 50 years maybe, or less than in 50 years, I will actually see some of their fleets or see all their systems. I've totally given up on even trying to find any way to look at their ship details. Now I know I've seen videos, where they're like, oh, well, these little ship parts look like this, and this little section looks like this. I don't want to memorize all that. I don't want to look at. I mean, yeah, I could do that. Fair enough, but dude, just give us ways. I want to know crystal clear what it is, And I mean, the computer already has 100 intel on us anyway. So why not give us tools to get 100 intel on them very quickly? Which I don't think it's imbalanced either. I really don't. The whole intel thing. If you spend the envoy and the influence, I don't think it's unreasonable to get 100 intel very quickly on an empire. It happens in real life. You have spies, right? What does a spy network do? It gets you intel. It gets you information. Okay? All the other stuff that's on that list that I pointed out, like, sabotaging a starbase, I don't care about that. I want to know if this devouring swarm is going to eat me. How many of you have been in the same boat as me? I gotta know. Like, I really want to know. Like, is all the stuff I said in this video just me? Like, am I the only person that has a problem with the stuff in this video? I highly doubt it. I really do. I really don't think so, which is why I made it. I really feel like, I really felt like this video is going to at least resonate with some of you. Now, I kind of want to do a call to action here. And I think I'm gonna try to put this in the description or try to remember. But if you identified with my video here, if kind of sound like V for Vendetta, if you feel how I feel, well, I think the best thing that those of us that agree with this can do is get on the dev diary, get on that post, either the most recent one or especially the one that I have in my thumbnail here, the vision number 361, and link this video or talk about the things that I talked about in this video. At the very least, speak up. I think if maybe enough of you guys that see this speak up, that Paradox will take notice, and then they might actually watch my video. Now, this video might really piss them off, and they might come after me. I hope that doesn't happen, but this stuff needs to be said. And you know what? If they're offended, my experience, when someone is offended by something, it normally means that there's at least a shred of truth to what they're offended about, or else it wouldn't bother them. That's been my experience, 100%, and I'm no exception. When somebody, like, people have made comments on this channel that have pissed me off, I'll be honest. Yeah, there's comments when I read them, like, I don't know how to respond to this, or fuck you, but that's my initial primal, animalistic reaction. That's my animosity talking. That's not actually how, that's not my neocortex talking, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to the, just pure emotion. But then I stop, like, okay, all right, let's not be a toddler here, and I look at it, and I read through it, and I look, and I think about it, and I go, and it dawns on me, sometimes it dawns on me like, wow, this person's right. And that's a hard lump to swallow, but you know what? They're right. And yeah, and I realize that, maybe this is pissing me off so much because they're right. And I start thinking about it more. I'm like, wow, they are. Oh, that sucks. I don't know if any of you can relate. It sucks when you see that. But you know what? I will swallow my pride. I will comment back and be like, you know what? You make a good point, or whatever. There are times that's happened, and really, I think if Paradox somehow watches my video, I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I like I said, this is a Hail Mary. But if they watch this video, and it offends them, then to me that's an indicator that the problem's actually much worse than we thought it was, or that I thought it was. That, like, they really are completely out of touch. Now, another speculation here is that maybe a lot of the stuff in here, they just either think they don't have time for, or they're aware of vaguely, but they just don't know what to do about it. So that's the other reason I gave my solutions. Maybe some of those solutions will land. I'm sure if they do watch the video, say they watch the video, and say they agree with what I was saying there, and they want to work on it, even if they come up with different solutions, I'm okay with that. They don't have to do, I'm not expecting them at all to, I'm not saying that they should do everything I say here, to the letter. Like, I'm just giving them ideas. I'm giving them inspiration, or trying to, you know, like. But see, like, all I give a shit about is that they do something about the warfare system. They do something about espionage. They do something about these things that we have been bitching to them about for years, instead of coming out with things like Grand Archive. Like, why don't you take that development time and focus on these real issues that are holding your game back and preventing new players from continuing to play your game, and just for a few months, and, you know, turn it around. That kind of leads me to the other topic here I wanted to hit on. So, you know, I want to thank, I don't know if they're watching right now, if they're listening, or if they'll ever listen to this, but to the person that made the comment to me, asking me about Stellaris 2, I want to say thank you, because you started me down this rabbit hole. I'm going to blame it on you, man. I'm going to blame it on you. You started me down this rabbit hole, because it hit me like a ton of bricks when I got asked that question. It really did. I was like, oh, wow, that might actually be really bad. You know, my first reaction was like, Stellaris 2, fuck yeah, more content, you know, more things covered. And then I thought about more. I was like, wait, City Skylines 2 exists. Oh, no, I don't want that to happen, right? None of us want that to happen. So, I mean, that's why I mentioned it. Yeah, I think Paradox is on the precipice. I think they are headed towards the waterfall. I'm sure some of you guys agree with me. They are headed for trouble. And like, you may see, I put in the description for this video, you know, I don't think it's dying yet, but I think it's heading in that direction if we don't reverse course here. If they keep coming out with useless, boring, let's face it, dude, like, there was Machine Age, and when that came out, I think it surprised everyone. It, at least those of us that do buy DLCs, I can't think of one person that said that Machine Age was a stinker. I can't think of one person that actually got the Machine Age and was dissatisfied. I loved it. I mean, Montu loved it. All the creators that I follow, or whatever, they all liked it. Everybody I know likes Machine Age. So why would you not do that over and over and over again? Or do, now I'm not saying, carbon copy. I'm just saying do something similar, right? So that's the first thing I hit on is like, why aren't you coming out with a Machine Age-like expansion every single year? I mean, and then, you know, and then another issue I want to talk about, I want to mention briefly, and it is an hour and 30 minutes. I don't want to go for too long, but I definitely want to mention, you know, the fact, and I wanted to stick up for you guys that are having a hard time with the prices of the DLCs. I get where you're coming from, especially when I noticed that, and I pointed out that some of the DLC they've had for like more than 5 years, and they cost as much as they did when they came out. Like, no, dude, that's not how you do things. That's not how you do effective business. If your shit is old, you reduce the price permanently. Yeah, Stray Evolution, welcome, dude. And I like your comments, by the way. I've been watching them. I've been responding to them. Welcome, brother. Glad you're still around. Machine Age is dope. I'm pretty sure they'll do the other two paths. After reading the dev diary, I'm confident they'll do better next year. I hope so, dude. I do. I have faith. I do still have faith in Paradox too. Some people hate Paradox. I get it. But you know what? Paradox could be a lot worse. We know that. As a AAA company, they could be doing a lot more scummier shit than what they're doing. So we at least got to give them that gold star there. Okay? Which is why I don't completely hate them. And they've come out with some real bangers. I mean, look at the games they've come out with. Crusader Kings 2 and 3, or just the Crusader Kings franchise in general, which I enjoyed, and I do plan on playing that again someday. And then everybody is constantly bugging me about playing Hearts of Iron. And I want to play it just because of how many people bug me about it. You know, that's how good it is. And every time I look up the Steam Top 100, it's always up there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I honestly, like, I do too. I hope that they took it to heart. You know, whatever. Now I haven't looked at the comments section yet. Guiltily, I'll say that. But you know what? I'm going to after this at some point. If nothing else, to leave my comment right and link my video if I can. If they don't prevent me from doing it, link the video, you know, this video to them and be like, hey man, watch this video, please. My community is begging you. But you know, like, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you feel how I feel, if you see what I see, if you believe what I believe here, if you identify with this video, anything in this video, speak up, get on that diary, leave a comment on their most recent diary. I'm going to do that too, because they might have forgotten about the vision already and are like, okay, we're going to look at the comments for, you know, for 362 now. Well, you know, then we'll need to leave a comment there, because they need to see and acknowledge the stuff that's in this video. I mean, it's not just for my sake, really. Like, honestly, I care about all you guys. I care about myself too, of course. Obviously, if Stellaris dies tomorrow, which means the death of Paradox in general. I think that if Stellaris dies, especially if other IPs like Crusader Kings and Hearts of Iron like die, that's it for Paradox. They are not going to recover from that at all. They're going to be done, and I'm going to have to do something else, guys. I mean, I won't quit, but you know what? I may lose a lot of you, and I rightfully so, right? I don't cover a game you like anymore. I get that, or I have to do something else, and you don't like that. So yeah, it would be very harmful for my channel at this point in time if Stellaris were to die. So of course, I have a vested interest in not letting Stellaris die. So this is my attempt to do that. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think no matter what, Stellaris will have players. Don't get me wrong. I always think there'll be a market for this game, but like, as far as like popularity, you know, being watchable, you know, being able to make videos about it, you know, having more than mixed reviews for every single game. I just think, like, you know, I guess decline would be the better word, right? If Stellaris were to decline fully tomorrow, I would be having a bad time, you know. But you know what? We're still kind of fresh off Machine Age. I think really if the Stellaris devs and Paradox just pull up the sticks and pull up, you know, from the nosedive that they're going in, you know, with these recent stinkers, I think they're going to do, and they do even half the stuff that this video talks about. Like I said, I think really just they will, a lot of good things will happen for them. See, that's the other thing in this video. I'm trying to look at it from their perspective too. Like, what would help you, right? I mean, every success piece of literature that you can read out there that's ever been made, you know, most of them generally point to, you know, you want to sell somebody something from their point of view. You want to make it appealing to them, not just appealing to you. Like, if you go up to somebody and you're like, hey, you know, you should give me $5 because I'm starving, they're a lot less inclined to tell you yes than if you were to go up to them and say, hey dude, if you gave me $5, I'll give you 10 the next week. Okay? And then you'll have more money, and you could, and you could buy ice cream or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Because it's about them. You make it about them. And that's why I'm doing this video too. I'm giving Paradox, I wanted to give a Paradox some incentives. You know, that's why I opened with, you know, hey, if you want to fix your brand, make money, do all this stuff, you know, you will do that will happen for you overnight. So I hope they see that and take that to heart. You know, like I said, it's a long shot, but anyway, guys, you know, that was the premiere. You know, I'd love to stay and talk more, but like, you know, so you like Grand Archive? That's cool. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't get it, but and to be fair, the reviews that it had were positive, but I looked at the amount of reviews and I was just like, dude, it's very clear that not that many people were interested in what it had to offer. Um, so I mean, yeah, but like I said, I also want to say this too to those of you that liked the recent story releases, the story packs and stuff that like that stuff. Look, I respect you, bro. I do. I'm not taking shot. I'm trying not my best not to take shots at you. I don't think, you know, I don't, you know, respect, dude. Like, it's just not me. That's just not what I'm interested in. So I'm kind of speaking from that perspective. But at the same time, like, I think we can all agree that, like, if you had to choose between, uh, you know, Cosmic Storms and Machine Age, I think we would pick Machine Age every time. I actually could even say that about Grand Archive. You know, bottom line, they need to get their priorities straight. They need to be pumping out these expansions. Okay, that they need to and they need to price them at a reasonable price because times are tough right now. Yeah, dude. Well, they covered things that not many people cared about that much, like that weren't very, you know, okay. Those annoying storms that slow my ship down. Why do I want to do more stuff with that? Or oh, more walls of text. Okay, I get to play with Yankee. You mean those annoying things in the galactic community? I mean, now this is me. Like I said, this is my perspective. You know, and my perspective is that doesn't have as much value to me as it does to maybe some people. It's just, you know, and but say, oh yeah, to Yankee, you're great, so great in the world. Even then, put it up next to Machine Age. I guarantee you, you will still choose Machine Age every time. You know. Now, the other and I did say that they still should come out with these things, right? But once in a while, not not 3 times in a year. Come on, Paradox. We don't want to see those things all the time. It's like I like salt on my food, but I don't like it dumped on there. You know, this stuff is spice. This stuff is, you know, flavor. This isn't. This is flavoring. That it's not. It's not the meat and potatoes. We want the meat and potatoes, or at least I do. You know. Um. And I really hope to God, if nothing else, that they their next expansion it needs to be genetic in nature. It needs to be around genetic ascension the way, you know, Machine Age was around cybernetic and synthetic ascension. It just makes sense. Another really great idea, and I left a text in this in the video, but you guys may not have noticed it. How many of you guys want to see a Wrath of Khan origin? Raise my hand way up in the air. That is what they could open up if they explored genetic ascension and did a expansion around that. They absolutely could come out with that origin. You know, Khan's Noonien Singh's story from Star Trek. Dude, people would eat that up. You know this, right? I mean, come out with stuff like that. Don't come out with Tiyanki hurting. I don't care about that. You know, I want to play as the Mechanicist from Warhammer 40k. I want to, you know, I want to like virtually, you know, I want to download my physical form into a digital one. That shit is fascinating. I love that stuff, and I'm sure a lot of you agree with me and can identify there. You know, that shit is cool. Make stuff that's cool. That's cool for everyone, for the majority. It's like, and like I said, I'm not taking shots at people that like that content. But I'm telling you, I I have a hard time believing that that content is more interesting than the one they agree that they released in the Machine Age. Absolutely not. So it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. You expand and grow and ascend, then shut down like half your colonies. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like synthetic fertility, there's a reason I covered that origin out of, that was my first guide of that expansion. Is because I enjoyed it that much. One, it was something that was a concept that I was already fascinated with, right? And then on top of that, it was very powerful and it played really well. So I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying this. I'm gonna showcase it. Now, that reminds me, I did get a little, I do intend on, making arc welders and, and oh come on, what is it? I should know this. The Mechanicus origin. Everybody knows what it was modeled after the Mechanicus in 40K. That one. Can't believe I forgot what that was, but off the top of my head. But yeah, that origin, which I did play that through as well, and did decent with it. I think it's the weakest of the three. Cybernetic Creed, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, yeah, psychic. If you do, I don't know if you can get psychic cyborgs, but that would be cool. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, see, this stuff, when you release this kind of stuff, like Cybernetic Creed, synthetic fertility, which I think they could have made a better name for. Come on, man. Synthetic fertility just sounds weird. It does not sound cool, but whatever. That's a side tangent. But synthetic fertility and arc welders, especially, like, why, those are amazing. Those are fucking cool. Like, and just, yeah, it's just, so I think the problems are, if I were to sum it up, one, the price of the DLCs needs to go down in general. Okay, I actually did some bullshit math. Some bullshit dumbass math. I basically looked at the amount of reviews. Excuse me, sorry about that. I looked at the amount of reviews for the Machine Age. All right. I cut the price in half and multiplied and did the math and multiplied the result by like 3 times, which is conservative, considering how successful it would be if it were $10. I did that, and the amount came out to more than they got from their, Now, actually, and the other thing I did too, I also I looked online and say, okay, how many reviews on average compared to the actual amount of people that bought the game? And they said like 30% of people who buy the game review it. So I just multiplied the amount of reviews by three. That's how like I said, I did bullshit math. It's not accurate, but it was a ballpark, right? And the number I came up with in the end was still at least $100,000 more than they, guesstimating they got from Machine Age, which the number I came up with was $500,000. That's terrible for something like the Machine Age. Something that detailed, that much of a banger like that. That's a tragedy, honestly. If it really is that much, it's probably more. I'm like I said, bullshit math. It's not correct. It's just a guesstimate. A theory, if you will. Just math theory there. But like I said, my point is, I did all that because I wanted to prove, or at least see if it was even likely that they could get more money just by reducing the cost of their DLCs, and I think they can. I think they would. If they made the DLCs more accessible, and like I said in the video, subscription does not count. That is not the way to go about that. You know, that's really, it's not going to cut it for most people. Most people are just going to see right through that. In fact, I do. Like, you know, and the problem with the subscription, though I didn't say in the video, is that why, you know, what if I want to buy it? You know, like, so basically, I paid you guys, say I get the subscription for like 10 months. And that's $100, right? You know, I could make one. For sure. I could absolutely make a quick short or video about it. I might do that if this video is really popular. Obviously if this video, you know, blows up, I will definitely be focusing on it a little bit. You know, I'll milk it. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm a YouTuber just like anybody else, any other YouTuber. I like to milk the content that works, right? So, you know, that's why I do Stellaris and I don't do like Necess or some other obscure game that I love that you guys have never heard of. So, you know, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I could do the math for sure. I could do dumbass math about, you know, about this. But yeah, like, but yeah, really, I feel it really seems obvious that, like, I don't see as a prospective customer how I would look at, like, oh, for example, one of the reasons I have all the DLC for Vampire Survivors, those of you who play that game, I know a lot of you have, and they've come out with some real bangers. You know what? They're only $3. Why? How could I say no to that? I've gotten dozens of hours for $3. Why would I not go for that? They have got to be fucking rolling in the cash right now. I mean, I guess I probably should check my facts before I say that. So let's look at Vampire Survivors. Oh, I don't want to. God damn it! I launched it. Sorry guys, you might hear it. Actually, no, I have my desktop turned off. So, or my desktop audio turned off, so you won't hear it. But yeah, let's look at the Steam page. Hold on, let me close this real quick. All right, so Vampire Survivors, smash hit game. I'm sure everybody agrees with me that's ever played it. It's a brain rot game. I'll acknowledge that. It is my brain rot game, guys. We all need a brain rot game, dude. We do. Vampire Survivors is a fucking brain rot game. It is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Dude, I need my McDonald's games once in a while. I don't want to think, right? You know, I'm a content creator. Like, you know, I create content for video games. You know, I don't, and I play a lot of complicated video games, Stellaris included, but also games like Factorio. Sometimes I don't want to fucking think. I don't want to use my brain. I want it to rot. And that's what I play Vampire Survivors for. It's a fucking brain rot game, and I love it. And I think that's why a lot of people play it. People love their McDonald's, dude. They do. They know it's bad for you. They don't care. You know, it's like, but anyway, for one, this game has overwhelmingly positive reviews. 226,000 people have bought this game. It's cheap as hell. It's $5. I think it was cheaper than that at one point, but they raised it a little bit, and rightfully so. From a business standpoint, you got that kind of traffic. Why the hell wouldn't you raise your price at least a little bit? I mean, I'm not a CFO, and I'm not saying they should be, but I mean, that's just good business. I mean, if your shit's valuable, yeah, you can raise the price a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just good business. You know, you're raising the value of your game. I mean, that's okay to an extent, right? But don't overdo it. The price of their latest DLC, which is Where is it? Which is a total banger, in my opinion. Where is it? Where is it? Huh. Hold on. Oh, there we okay. $4. Ode to Castlevania. One of the most iconic games in NES history. Popular among everybody, or everybody in my generation, every guy in my generation knows about this game, has heard about this game, has played it at least once. $4. $4 to relive that nostalgia, dude. Now, I wasn't a huge Castlevania player, but I did beat Aria of Sorrows, and I did extremely enjoy that game. I played it. I remember I played it in Iraq. It was great. I played that game in Iraq. That was like, yeah, that was the highlight of my day, dude. Playing Aria of Sorrows, man. I actually stole it from this guy. I feel bad about that today, but yeah. Well, I didn't steal it like intentionally. I just never ended up giving it back to him. We never saw each other again. He let me borrow it, and I was never able to return it. You know, war is hell, right? But yeah, their last DLC before Castlevania, another NES game that was a total banger and one of the hardest games I've ever played in my life, Contra. They totally did that. So I got to relive that nostalgia for $3. I mean, so let's look at the reviews for Ode to Castlevania, okay? All right. So this only has 1,100 reviews, okay? I guess that's compared to the base game, that's not that great. All right? But you know what? I mean, still, they got some money off of it. I mean, you know, and really, yeah, it's just, and I guess it really doesn't prove my point that well. Well, let's see what their most Operation Guns. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the thing of it is too, if nothing else, I can make the point that it's already difficult to get as many, as much traffic for your DLC as your base game. Why would you make it that expensive? Really? Why would you make it that expensive? It just doesn't make any sense, you know? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, so anyway, guys, it's reaching the 2 hour mark, and I really want to work on not talking forever. So, I've been failing at that lately, I know. But I want to just, you know what, let's just end the video here. But yeah, I think I made my point, and I want you guys to know again. I just want to say one last thing. I don't hate anyone in the community. I don't have anybody that either didn't, likes the stuff that I bashed in this video. I'm not saying that you're bad for liking that or being interested in that. I'm not saying that, I don't have a problem with you at all. You do you, man. It's just I know that I can't be alone in my grievances about that, and I do stand by what I said, and I still think that what I say about the things I mentioned is valid, regardless of what other people's preferences are. And at the end of the day, we can always agree to disagree, right? Like some of you guys, maybe you've completed the game with the Galactic Community, and you're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, Galactic Community is so powerful. You can do this and this and this and this. You know what? I'd love to hear from you, sure. But I will still agree to disagree with you. If nothing else, for the fact that, the Galactic Community could be a lot more accessible. They could make it a lot easier to get it to plug into and mess with. But but anyway, like I said, I don't harbor any ill will to anyone in this video, especially despite what I've said and despite the tone, Paradox and the Stellaris devs. And again, And I want to leave it with this. Paradox, Stellaris Des, if you're listening, I want to say thank you. Thank you for my partnership. I do owe it in part to you. It was your content, it was your game that is part of the reason I'm getting paid by YouTube right now. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I do want to say that officially. That's all I got, guys. If you like my stuff, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share this video if you like it with other people. Comment. Let me know what you think. Man, I'm just bracing myself for what might come my way. I'm scared, guys. This took balls for me to release this. It really did. I say things in here that I haven't said before, and so I'm not saying be gentle with me, but man, all I ask is that you keep it constructive. Keep it constructive, keep it polite, keep it civil. Don't violate terms of service. I don't want to censor you. Please don't force me to do that. But I got to protect my channel. So yeah, just, you don't have to be nice, but, play by the rules in the comments, please. But yeah, if you got something, comment on it. I try to answer all of them whenever I can. If you want to hang out with me, if you want to talk to me more about this or whatnot, continue attending my live streams. And I've got a Discord channel. I link it all over the place. Hop on there. I stream on it often. I'm in general chat. I've been in general chat lately, streaming it. You could come in, hang out with me, watch me stream. And I don't even get watch time from it. It's just, it's my home. So, and I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Oh, and you can DM me at any time. And again, devs, if you're listening, Parax, if you're listening, and you want to talk to me about any of this at all, Discord's the best way to reach me. Just hop in my DMs. I will answer. I'll be surprised as hell, but I will answer. So that, and then I have a join button. I have a membership right now. I have one tier. It gets you my entire backlog and member-only videos as I come out with them. Obviously right now we don't have enough members yet, but we only have a few members. But I want to make the community grow. That's why I don't have more tiers. Maybe if we grow, we'll discuss that. But yeah, and you get you'll get access to all the member videos I make and member live streams. I'm looking forward to doing our first member live stream. When it comes to that, when we get enough members to get that going, that's something I'm looking forward to. And so yeah, it's $5. I know times are tough, and that's why I want to say, regardless of membership or anything, yeah. And if you hit the join button, there'll be a video there that you can watch that tells you most of what you get. So, but regardless of that, times are tough. So whatever, thank you for everything that you do, regardless, if nothing else, for your view and your watch time today. I appreciate it, and any ads that you watched. With that being said, and also, if you think I deserve it, super thanks, super chat, always appreciated. That being said, thank you, and I will see you next time.